Welcome to the next episode. Today's episode is quite interesting because it is following this previous video that we had talking about, stimuli reaction. Because this video will serve as basically a good example of how when we are in such an event, when we are stimulated and we tend to react with receiving certain thoughts, and these certain thoughts then manifest as the actions that we end up doing unless we actually become conscious of what is happening. Most of the times we will find ourselves taking unconscious actions because it just feels good or it just feels like the right thing to do. But let's get to the example. Last night, around 9-10 p.m., I'm in my bed. I'm just watching some content. Obviously, it's been a long day and quite exhausted, so that's the event. I am in a negative state of exhaustion. I'm tired. Now, as I am in this state, what do I want to do? By default, I want to sleep. I want to rest. But I cannot rest. I have to do my nightly routine, which is to stretch and then to meditate. Now, I obviously force myself to get up and stretch and then meditate. But as I am going to do those said activities, nightly routine, I am obviously in my head. I am seeing the thoughts that I'm having, and the thoughts are saying basically what happened is I was in this state, right? I'm exhausted, and I accept that tonight I'm not gonna slack off. I'm gonna do the routine, and because I've accepted that fact, that truth, my mind then goes into tomorrow, the next day, which is Friday, basically weekend, right? And because we are tired in this current state, which was yesterday, we begin to project into tomorrow that we have to rest. We cannot do the routine tomorrow, or rather for the whole weekend, because we are tired. Now, that just goes out to show that there's no logic at all being used here, because you cannot be tired today and decide not to do your routine tomorrow just because you are tired today. So that was basically no logic being used there. I was just reacting. That was my brain, reacting to the state that I was in. And I saw how this is a self-sabotaging thing that definitely has happened before in my past. For a second, I almost felt convicted, or I almost felt like that is what I truly wanted, But I felt like that is what I truly wanted because I was in a state of exhaustion. Therefore, my mind was doing nothing but just react to what I was already feeling, what I already was. So obviously, if that's what it was, you're gonna feel like that's what you want. But then as I started to stretch, I started to, get looser and looser. And then my mind started to relax a bit as well. Basically, I started to get raised up in frequency, started to feel more, freer, more energized a bit. And then it dawned on me, because now my conscious awareness was at its peak, basically. And it dawned on me like, damn, I almost told myself, because that's the thing, the thoughts, they come to you, right? You observe them, but then once you start to engage with those thoughts, once you start to engage with those thoughts and say, let's say the thought says, we deserve it, we deserve a break for the weekend, and you are unconscious that this is you in a state of exhaustion. Therefore your mind is also in that state, and it's portraying these thoughts as means of reflecting or mirroring what is already your energetic state, right? And I saw that it's so easy to engage with such thoughts and be like, yes man, I am tired, yes, I deserve a break, because there's many voices that are just floating inside your headspace, but you know your true voice once you engage with those thoughts. You make that conscious decision to say such inside your own head. And I saw that should I have said that and maybe convinced myself not to even do the routine, the nightly routine, I wouldn't have done it. But thanks to the fact that I was already in the motion of stretching, I was able to raise my vibration, raise my frequency through just stretching, because it releases all the stress and tension in the body, and I get freer. Therefore, the more you feel freer, you are basically feeling a higher vibration, higher frequency, a higher state emotionally. And so I was able to get back into that peak conscious awareness and to really observe this experience I just got through, right? And as I've mentioned, it dawned on me like, damn, I almost convinced myself not to follow my routine, and in the most absurd way, because there was no logic being exercised. My neocortex was not part of that discussion at all. It was just my brain reacting to what I was feeling, or to how I was feeling at that moment, of which it was stimuli, reaction. There wasn't any awareness in between, therefore no gap was in between, and therefore if there wasn't no gap, then there wasn't any space for the neocortex to critically take its rightful place between the two, to make the conscious, knowledgeable, best plan of action to move forward. And yeah, this is just an example of what happened to occur for me last night, and I'm really grateful that it happened when it happened, because I doubt that I would have been able to get such wisdom if it happened at a different time, because my mind was very stimulated, number one, because I had just finished watching content. So I'm already lazy, I ate dinner, I'm full, I just watched content, and I'm tired. So the neocortex is basically back, like it's at the back of the mind. It's basically sleeping at this point, because I got nothing to do that requires me to think critically, which is why it's very, very important, very, very important to always be hyper aware. We have to be conscious of our thoughts, our mind state, and our physical state and emotional state at all the time. At all the time we have to, because it's in moments like these when we are super unconscious and we are just in reactive mode that our old frequency starts to project things and we have literally no possible way of fighting back, because we think that this is what we want, and it feels like this is what we want, and we justify it by the language we use, but we deserve it because we've been disciplined for the whole week. We deserve to take a weekend off, knowing very well that this is not just a routine or a habit that you do for 5 days and then rest for the weekend. This is not like a 9 to 5 job. This is a lifestyle, because doing this lifestyle reinforces the identity, the new identity. We are not doing something for the sake of doing something. We are embodying an energy. We are embodying an identity of who we want to be, of who we are going to be, of who we already are. And that's it for today's video. So much gems dropped, like all the previous videos at this point. And yeah, if you stayed with us till this far, use everyone, use a code. Appreciate you, bro. And I will see y'all in the next video. Cheers.